The Truth About Terror by the Southern Avenger. When Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were murdered in cold blood in 1994, imagine that while police had a prime suspect in O.J. Simpson, they completely ignored that O.J. and Nicole had once been married. They dismissed the domestic violence charges and other troubles that followed their divorce. They ignored all prior experience concerning crimes of passion and believed that Simpson likely murdered the pair because he was an anti-Semitic misogynist who hated the concept of freedom. Would anyone consider this good or even competent police work? Welcome to U.S. foreign policy. Since 9/11 and throughout the ongoing debacle in Iraq, our leaders have given us every reason for Islamic terrorism except those which include the hard evidence. As former head of the CIA's bin Laden unit, Michael Scheuer writes, quote, "On no other foreign policy issue since the Cold War's end has the truth been so easy to establish on the basis of hard facts, but so hard for Americans to see, primarily because their leaders eagerly distort or ignore the truth. At day's end, each leader is ready to intervene abroad to champion abstractions such as democracy rather than U.S. interests. Each is ready to spend the lives of soldiers and Marines to do so, and each advances the Islamist cause by failing to see that Muslim hatred is motivated by U.S. interventionism more than any other factor." As a 22-year veteran of the most hands-on terrorist monitoring unit of the CIA, one might think Scheuer would know a thing or two about what motivates radical Islam. American intervention overseas, from never-ending sanctions on Iraq to permanent military bases on the Arabian Peninsula, is without question the primary cause for 9/11 and the current terrorist threat, a point the 9/11 Commission report also made perfectly clear. But this is not the answer Americans are used to hearing. Returning from his 11th trip to Iraq, Senator Lindsey Graham wrote in this week's Post and Courier, quote, "This war is an ideological struggle between extremism and moderation. The only way to go backwards now is for Congress to undercut what is working. Unfortunately, that is what many in Congress continue to do by pushing withdrawal plans. I hope they fail. Americans should hope Lindsey Graham fails, and John McCain, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and anyone else, Republican or Democrat, who refuses to recognize that American health and security depends on getting troops out of the Middle East as soon as possible. Temporarily stabilizing the chaos in Iraq with a surge, however successful, does nothing to address the root cause of Islamic terrorism, any more than stopping a prison riot would do anything to address the root cause of criminal mentality." Scheuer's contention that our current foreign policy, quote, "advances the Islamist cause by failing to see that Muslim hatred is motivated by U.S. interventionism should be easy for any fan of the TV show Law and Order to understand, where detectives solve crimes by gathering evidence and looking for motives. America's detectives, namely men like Scheuer and the CIA, have gathered the evidence and have determined the motive for Islamic terrorism. Our leaders have completely ignored this evidence, claiming instead that terrorists just hate freedom, when in reality they just hate our foreign policy. If the main goal of terrorists really was to destroy liberal Western democracy, then places like Sweden should be their primary target. And yet they are not, as Swedes don't have massive armies stationed on Muslim land. Coincidence? Not according to the CIA. According to our own intelligence, and indeed all intelligence, the argument as to what causes Islamic terrorism is settled. By invading Iraq, continuing the occupation, and even hinting at future wars, U.S. leaders have taken the most wrong-headed approach possible in trying to solve a problem they refuse to diagnose correctly. If they were doctors, they would have their licenses revoked or be thrown in jail for the suffering they've caused. And yet, since 9/11, the candidates most likely to inspire another attack remain those who promise to be the toughest on terror, by being the most ignorant of what causes it. For more commentaries, log into SouthernAvenger.com, read my weekly column in the Charleston City paper, or listen here each Tuesday and Friday to the Southern Avenger, only on 1250 WTMA.